Hello, I'm Chris, this is Gross Models, and this is part 3 of the Bandai U-Wing Starfighter build, which is the first one that's actually got the U-Wing Starfighter in it. Previously I've done the tanks and the TIE Striker. This time I'm going to be doing the actual U-Wing. This is the biggest build of the pack. Basically the tanks were half a page, the TIE Striker was 1 page. This is 5, 6, 7, 8 pages. It's a more complicated build than all the others, put together basically. Probably still only going to be 1 episode. If it is 2, then it will be basically the building and the painting, but I think I'm going to have to be painting as I go. As ever, I haven't planned any of this. This is just out the box. What I'm going to do is, as ever, get the first few parts off the sprues. As ever with sprues, you get more than you need. There's options with this. I think there's different canopy options, and obviously there's an option with the landing gear or not, as the case may be. I'm going to be doing this without the landing gear. I think I'm going to be doing it in flight. So basically I'm going to get the bits I need, so I won't need the stand, although I'll probably use that just for sort of storage and display until I get the diorama built up. So I'm going to go away, get the first few bits ready, and then we'll start building. Well, the first sprue we need is B. We need parts 5, 11 and 10 by the looks of it. Now, as ever with these, cutting off the sprue, let's have a look what we need. For 5 is the big wing. These cutters are very good, very sharp, so I can actually get pretty close into the part I need to cut and cut it off pretty cleanly. On some of these wider bits obviously is more of a problem, so I'm going to leave a bit on the kit and then we can come back and tidy up afterwards. So I'm just going to get all of these off for now. So now I can get in closer, I can use the cutters to remove even more of that without damaging the piece itself, and then using just a sanding stick I can take off all the rough edges. Obviously I'm not going to film doing that for every part, but it gives you the idea as to what we need to do. So basically make each piece look as good as you can make it look. On the white parts you can't always see stress marks on bits when you cut them off, but it's all going to be primed and painted anyway, so that's not too much of a worry. I'm going to get the last few bits off and then build it. I may have got slightly over enthusiastic when I was cutting the bits off and cut off all of the bits, except for the engines. I figured the best way of doing this is to do the body and then the engines. I was right, there is a different canopy options. You can basically go with windows or without. Without obviously is the easiest way, then you can just paint it without having to worry. If you want glass in the windows, then obviously it's going to mean masking and painting. So obviously that's the way that I'm going to go, because I don't like no windows. It might be, you know, filming accurate and everything, but it just doesn't look right to me. So I'll get rid of the other one. Go with that. Obviously that's going to mean some masking. There are a couple of other clear pieces, which the easiest bit is that, which basically just goes into the, as far as I can tell, the underside of the cockpit. So that's actually nice and easy, because that I can just leave to one side and paint that without having to worry about that bit. Now I have been warned, I apologise, I can't remember who it was, one of the comments on one of my previous videos warned about putting the wing bits on, and I can see why. These, basically when they go in, this snaps over the top, you can't get it apart again. You'll break it if you try and get it apart. So I'm going to be carefully not installing that. They go on basically like that in there, and then we'll fold open as you want them to. Or is it the other way up? It's probably the other way up. Yeah, they go on there like that. And then obviously we'll open. That must be where some of the other window bits go, but we'll worry about that down the line. So I don't know that I necessarily want these to be movable, but they're going to be. So I need to worry about painting before assembly on that. So what I'm going to do is figure out what bits are going to be what colour, get them all primed and then all painted up as well. That obviously needs masking and then painting. That I think is just windows. Let's have a look through and see where that goes, because obviously I jumped ahead cutting all the bits off. That goes onto that bit in there, that goes inside there. So yes, just the windows that are visible through these bits here, so nothing else in there needs painting, so that can go aside with the other bit. I haven't even pushed it in and it's not coming out very well. So yeah, the clear piece doesn't need anything doing to it, that'll just go in afterwards. We've got some of the gun pieces which I can assemble without worrying about too much. They just go into there, the right way round though, so that one's actually that side. Now, being a Bandai kit, most of this won't need gluing. Most of it will in fact just be snap fit. So that's that bit, which then goes on to there, something like that I believe, if I'm even looking at the right bit. That's going to be that one. So, but that's going to be a different colour anyway, so that needs priming and then painting in a different colour. The underside seems to be a different colour. I'm not sure if that's a deliberate, design, or if that's just how they've moulded it on the plastic. But none of it's going to be assembled yet. I'm going to have a look through reference pictures and things. Obviously these bits are moulded in a different colour, so they're probably different again. They definitely go on to here. It says definitely, and then turns out that it probably isn't, because I think I've skipped a step. Yeah, I skipped a step with the window. Yeah, lots of this is going to be fairly confusing, getting it in the right order. So putting that in there was the first step, which is the first step that I can't do because I don't need to do that quite yet. So I'm going to have a play around, figure out what bits need to be what colours and go from there. But this is basically the parts for the U-wing, except for the engine. One important detail is the two pilots we've got there, which go into their seats. They will obviously need painting in detail, which unfortunately I'm going to try and show on film, but I'm not sure that it's going to work very well. So I'll do those one at a time, obviously after they've been painted. Let's just give you a look at those at the moment anyway. There we go. So we can sort of focus on them. So that'll be interesting to do. But I say, once I figure out what needs to be what colour, I'll come back and show you what's what. As ever, plans have changed and things have evolved and everything's gone different. What I've done is snap together mostly the kit. It's obviously not properly snapped together, as you can see. It's still very loose. I haven't put the little cover pieces on there, which are the bits that break when you're trying to take them off. So the side wings are very, very loose. Basically, I've only put them together to give me an idea what goes where and how it all fits in. I haven't put in the clear bits of the canopy there either. There's no point in doing those. What I have seen is, I've been looking at the paint guide. The main body itself is in white, or at least Star Wars' version of white, which is just off white, but I'm going to be doing a gloss black and then white over the top of it, which gives the slightly off white anyway. I do need to do the engine pieces because most of those are in fact the same colour as the body, so I do need to bite the bullet, get everything off the sprues anyway. The guys in the cockpit I haven't put together yet. I haven't put in because there's no point. It's like the control bits for them as well. There is some detail painting on those of how they've got to be coloured. It gives you colour shout outs, which are quite accurate as far as I can tell. It even tells you Cassian pants are wood brown. There we go. So yeah, the white body with a little bit of grey and a small bit of black, but basically white over black is the standard. Often insignia white for the Falcon, but I'll mix up something that's going to do that. The bottom bit of the grey body is in grey. The blue again is going to be the decals, so I don't need to worry about that. So I need to get bits of it apart. The one thing that I was going to do now is I'm going to be having it in the sort of flying configuration, so I don't need landing gear. So these little panels can just go onto the wings. Now, making sure you're getting the right way around, there's a little lip on the outside of those. Got to make sure you get on the outside, obviously. And the other bits go at the back, but I'm not going to put them on until I know where the engines are exactly going to fit in. But that's basically it. So pretty much fitting the colour scheme to the plastic, as you do mostly on these. You can almost build them without painting. So I'm going to get some bits that can be painted together. The wings will be separate, which I say they pretty much are now anyway. Yeah, so primed in black, and then I'll obviously catch up with you on that and then show you the next stage. I think I'll probably be able to do, might as well do them in separate. I've got to do some detail work inside the cockpit there anyway. So yeah, not forgetting to take off the transparent piece, because otherwise, yeah, actually no, I'll be leaving that on. I'll be masking that and doing that in colour anyway, so not worrying too much about that. Ooh, pick it up and then throw it down again. Yeah, so masking, priming, and then painting. Actually this I won't be priming, I'm just going to be painting this directly, because I do still want the interior to be the white, same as the exterior, so I'll have to figure out something with that. But the rest of it, I'd say pretty much as it shows. So I'll see you when it's starting to be painted. All the parts are ready for painting or priming and then painting. I've got them all sitting on cocktail sticks ready, good to go. The one thing I haven't done yet is the canopy, which I thought I'd give you a quick video demonstration of. This is obviously the one that I'm not using. I've got that out purely to help me show which bits I need to mask. Obviously it's the bits that aren't plastic. So there's obviously the big window, big square window at the front, which is nice and easy. And then we've got some interesting fun shapes to do, nice long bits, and a little tiny one at the top there, which is, yeah, that's going to be fun. So I've got a piece of Tamiya masking tape. Now it's conveniently not quite the right size, but it's not far off. So what I'm actually going to do is cut off the perforated end piece and then get an idea just how long that needs to be. Get a straight line down there, lose the bit that I don't need, and then carefully pick up the bit that I do need. Probably going to ruin one corner, but that's not a problem because I don't think it's the right shape anyway. Now trying to get in close to see what I'm doing while not knocking the camera like that, and still showing you what I'm doing. Actually the width is pretty damn good, so yeah, I can get away with that. If I'd have measured it a little bit longer, that would have been fine as one piece, but it's not a problem to do it as two. That gets rid of the dodgy bent up corner problem on both bits, because it's that corner, so I can make sure I use that corner for the other side. So let me get that bit down in there, matching that up to the corners where I need it to be, and getting that pushed down into the edges. So that's basically what I'm going to do for all of it. The tiny bits obviously are just going to be tiny bits, just little funny shapes there. And once that's done, I'll get it masked up. Obviously being careful just to mask that one side. What I'm actually going to do is use some blue tack and actually make sure I hold it from the inside with blue tack like that. So basically I've got no danger of getting any paint inside it at all. although I'm going to make sure I paint from one side only anyway. So that also makes it a little bit easier to hold while I'm masking. So I'll get that done and painted and see you when that's done. That's all the priming done and most of the painting. I haven't done the bits that need to be more sort of metallic. So the backs of the engines, the top and bottom bit, and the guns there. I haven't done any more painting on them yet. Also the people, or the person and the droid, I left them in the black primer. I need to hand paint those, so I'll get into that soon. What I have done is the grey for the underside, and the top side in the off-white, so very, very pale grey, which has come out quite nice. The nice thing about doing the Star Wars universe ships is you can go a bit rough on some of the painting, because it doesn't matter, because it's all a bit rough. It's a used universe. It's going to be, say, weathered and some slight paint chipping and put in there as well, but it's meant to look a bit wrong, a bit worn out and tired, so they don't match. But I say that's a good thing. That's pretty much how they're meant to be. Not sure why some of the panel lines have come out much nicer on one than the other, but maybe they're a bit deeper on one than the other. So yeah, that's, I say, as intended really. Right, let's get some of this masking off and we'll see if it worked or not, as the case may be. Let's have a look and see. Okay. Well, I can see some window through it, so it must have worked at least to some degree. It's great, the anticipation of finding out just how badly it's gone over off the rails and through the lines and everything else. A little bit in there that doesn't quite match up. Now, as I said, I didn't want to prime this first, because the inside that you might still be able to see, I still want to be in the inside colour. There's that little window there that I need to grab. If I can grab that. It's a tiny little window, that. It's great fun masking the tiny little things, it's great. So there we go, that's one side. Yeah, a little bit of a touch up to do on there. Using a cocktail stick, I can just sort of scrape away at the paint there from a little bit of the edges. So not ideal, but not as bad as it could have been. That one's actually really good. A little bit down the bottom there again. So I'll get the rest of the paint off of there, tidy it up a little bit, and then we'll be no, won't be assembling yet. I've got to do the dark stuff. I've got to do some research and find out exactly what colour I need to do that. So I'll get that done and be back ready for assembly. And I've started the build proper. I've put on the little cap bits onto these just to make sure they go on there properly, and they do. So that's the start of the wings themselves, which obviously you've got some movement to them if you need it to. So I did these in the off-white, the white with a touch of grey. The underside main bit I've done in grey, and the other bits, the engine things, I did in the dark steel that I've got, the Vallejo Mecha colour. I figured it was quite a good match and would fit in well being sort of metallic. So far so good. That's what I've got. So I'm going to start slotting these together following the instructions. The one thing that I haven't painted as yet, actually I'm doing this that way up, so it's that way up. There we go. That goes on there. Then we need to get the transparent bits fitted. That goes in there, and the other transparent bit goes in that one, and then that whole thing can fit onto there, about there. Or not there, not quite there, back a little bit further than that, I think. No, forward a little bit further than that, to there. There we go. And again, being Bandai kit, push fit is enough. So there we go, that's that in there. The wing's still open and closed to the closed position. Actually, not quite closed, so that's obviously got to move that way just that little bit to let that go all the way closed, like the other side. Just a few degrees out, and it made all the difference. There we go, that's that bit. Then we've got the back side. Which way up does that go? That goes that way up. In there, on top of there, just in the back. Alright, that actually goes underneath. Oh right, that should have been fitted to that bit before it goes on there, because these little corner pieces have to go underneath there. So let's pop that out just a touch. Should be enough. Get that under where it needs to go, and then that can go in there. Oh. Yeah, that is the right place. Just in there like that. Not quite going in. Alright, let's take this apart a little bit further again. Right, so with that off of there, this bit goes in. Let's check the directions up the right way again. That bit's down, so that bit's there. So we've got those two just to go on there. Yeah, it just wasn't lining up quite right because I've got the added layer of paint on there as well, which obviously makes it a little bit thicker. So then we can get this bit lined up in the right place again and get that down over the top there. That's all the way home. Cool, right, that's that. That bit I've already put on there. Then we've got the top and bottom bit of here. Let's go over there. Top bit and the bottom bit the same inside that bit, just like that. That's that. Let's turn the page over. Now the one thing that I haven't done yet is probably what's coming up next. Yeah, the pilots. Actually, we've got the sort of control stick, whatever bit sort of things. I think that's what they are. Need to go in there first, just like that. Pretty sure they're going to be the control yokes, like that. And then we've got the bit that I can't find. There it is, the seatbacks, which go just in there. Yeah, the first front bit of that. Goes in there. It is there, isn't it? Following the instructions, yep. All the way to the front of that. In there. And the pilots obviously sit into that. Now the pilots I haven't painted yet. They need the small detail painting on those, which I haven't sat down and started doing yet. I'll be doing some of that in a little while, but I'm not going to be able to film that, so I'll be doing that off camera. I'm wondering if I can put them in afterwards. Now, I think that might be causing problems trying to put that in afterwards, so I won't be doing them afterwards. So that's the build for now until I get them painted up, I think. The bottom bit can just pop in. That you can take off for using on the display stand. It tells you just to push that bit, it's all fine. The engines themselves we've got to slip together. Now, yeah, these are of two different orientations. You've got a thick bit and a thin bit. You obviously need to get them the right way round in the right engine casings, as it were. So one of these is going to be wrong and that one's the right one. So we've got those two. That one is the wrong one, so that goes in here. And that's got to be the right one because it's the only one I've got left. That's that there. The cockpit canopy that I obviously painted up is good to go as well. That can go onto there. Now that's a slightly different mix to the bit I've got on here, which actually works quite well. I did have to respray a couple of these to get some better coverage, and obviously the mix up was a custom sort of white grey mix, so I'm quite happy that that's slightly different. That's all good. Yeah, two of these go on the top and two of these go on the bottom, so I can sort them out once it's together. So I've got those four ready to go, the cockpit ready to go on once I've done some painting of some tiny people, or one person and one droid. Then it's basically just putting the engines on and then doing some decals. Actually, the decals on these we have to do before we put them on anyway, so I'll get some of those done before assembly. But then that is actually the assembly completed for it. I'm not putting on the lasers or the undercarriage on here because I want it in flight mode. So yeah, that's, I say, the build, apart from putting in the people. And once that goes on there, it's a bigger ship than I thought it was going to be. Let me just see which one of these goes where, if I can, because they've all got slightly different orientations of how do I describe it, cutouts. All the cutouts are slightly different, or are they? Those two look the same. But that one's different. So yeah, there's not all different, but two differences. So one goes basically one side and the other one goes the other side. So that's actually for that side. So it'll go on there, a bit like that. As I say, I'm going to do the decals on these first, so I'm not pushing them on all the way. I'm just giving you an idea of how it's going to look once I've done the last couple of bits. Let's get that one on there and that one on there. There we go. So not pushed all the way home, just on to hold, because I don't like having bits all over the place. I like them to be together, and that was going to go on there like that. So you're really not going to be able to see the pilots very well inside there anyway, but we'll know it's there as ever with this type of build. And that's going to go, where are we? About there, a bit further forward. No, exactly there actually. So a little bit that's going to be covered. So that's going to go on there like that. So yeah, that's the build pretty much completed. Nice variation in colours on the bottom there, that's fine. And obviously the wings will go into the different positions depending on the flight mode or what it looks like, how you want it to be displayed. So I'm going to get the guys painted up. I'll try and see if I can film a bit of it for you, but I'm not holding out much hope. So hopefully we'll see you in a minute when it's being painted, but it might be after they've been painted, so we'll see when I see you soon. As you may have noticed, I didn't show you a painting of these. I did try, but it just wasn't. I can't get the camera close enough to me be able to see what's going on. I'm still playing and trying to figure it out, but as yet, no, sorry. So what I've done, I have, let me zoom in a touch to show you what's what. I can do that. I have given K2SO a little bit of metallic black with some blue mixed into it to give him that little sheen. And Cassian himself, I've just painted in a few, not so much random colours. I've gone by basically what it's got in the, where's the camera? There you go. In the instruction manual, with sort of browns and blues, but you're not going to be able to see him anyway. So it's more sort of background detail. The same with the seats that they'll be sitting into. I've just done, say, some colours on there, blocked them in, made it better than the plain plastic. And the interior, I've done I put some sort of weathering in, some little detail painting, but once the cover's over the top, like that ish, you can't see a thing. So yeah, I'm not too worried about spending hours and hours painting up detail things that you can't see. So I am going to get these guys on the chairs, getting the right way round. He's got to go on that side. Like that. And he is, oh, I can't do it with that in my hand as well. Get that out of the way. He sits next to him in the co-pilot seat. And they go down in there, sort of under the control thing, and sort of in and twisted round, and somehow they sort of go in and get pushed forward. So we've got them sitting there ready to pilot, and all going to be covered up momentarily by putting the top cover on, which I think is the next stage. Yep, just checking the instruction manual. So again, as ever, getting the bits lined up so you get it the right way round. That just goes on and snaps in place, no glue required once again. Get those out of the way so it makes sure it clips down. And yeah, you can see virtually nothing. Oh, you can see the pilot sitting in there, so that's not so bad. I'm happy with that. That's come out quite well. So apart from the engines going on, which I did have on and then took off again because I need to do the decal sort of wrap around there, the little coloured bits. That's the build completed. Actually, let's slip these back on. So as ever, they slip on nicely without any glue, so it's easy to put on and take back off again if you need to do any more detail work on them, basically. So there we go, that is the build completed and the painting completed, apart from a couple of little touch-up areas. All in all, I'm quite happy with that. It's come out nicely. It's still too shiny and new. So Star Wars needs to be more worn and knackered, which is the next stage, the weathering. No, sorry, the next stage is the decals. So I'll get them set up and ready to go, and as I show you one or two of them going on, but they're all, you know, once you've done one decal, you've done them all. So I'll show you a little bit of that, just in case anybody's not seen decals before. But then, I say, some weathering, so I'll see you momentarily when I've got the decals ready. So, just in case nobody's done decals before, right, first of all, I call them decals. Some people call them decals. They're the same thing. They're water slides. They're made, I don't know what, some sort of plastic that basically you put it in water, and the paint bit separates from the backing card, and then you can put it where you like on the kit, and you're away. They do actually supply stickers as well, which are just a thicker version, which do the job, but they're not as nice looking. They're easier to apply. You just basically peel them off and you're away. I mean, for instance, that one down there, so you can literally just peel it off. He says it's very easy. He says, not making it look very easy at all. You just need to grab the edge of it and you've got a sticky sticker that you just put on like that. You try and do that with these, you won't get anywhere, but they're easy enough to do. All you need is a sharp knife or a pair of scissors, something like that, to do that. What I'm going to be doing first is putting the two onto the one engine. it's one of the top engines which have the straight blue line. The bottom engines have got this one with the lighter piece cut out of it, and one of these at the front. So what I'm going to do is actually cut out, I'm going to go straight down here and straight down there as well, so I can get both of these on one piece of paper. Just going to cut that across the top there, and that should be separated. Now, one of the most important things to think about when you're doing these decals is not to get the sheet that you're dealing with wet before you need the decals. So make sure that's well out of the way when you're playing with the water stage of this. I'm not going to need the knife again, so I'm going to move that well out of the way as well. Now, looking at the instruction sheet, basically we've got 22 at the front there, 21 at the back. 21's the black one, so that needs to go just on that raised area there, and that goes just on that bit just before the ridges. So nice and easy. I know where we're going, so I can move the instructions out of the way as well. Now I have, apart from a knife, I've got a couple of pairs of tweezers. You might need a brush as well. What I'm also using is some warm water. You can use cold water, you can use hot water, but the temperature of the water makes a difference as to how long you need to leave the decals in the water. So because it's warm water, I found it to be basically the ideal temperature. I'm just sort of waving it around in there for just a few seconds, and then just using a bit of tissue, I'm just going to sort of soak off the excess from the back there. Again, so I'm not getting water everywhere. Moving that to one side, and then we're basically good to go. The one other thing that I am going to be using is Microset, and then eventually I'll be using Microsol, which basically just help the decal. They're a softener. They let the decal bed a little bit better. So I'm just going to use an oldish brush, and just going to paint over where the decal's going. Roughly, it doesn't have to be, you know, neat and everything. This is not coloured, it's just a softening solution. Right, so I'll turn this round, so I'm just going to double check which way which goes. Yeah, the black one goes next to the engine bit. So I've got it the other way round. So I'm going to start with the other one. Just going to touch it a touch, just to see, yeah, that's moving. So that's all fine. Now, this is obviously quite a small piece, so it's not as easy to do as some. What you really need to do is just slide it off onto where you need it. And then with this one, I can just twist and wrap it around. Now, if you're using decals that are particularly soft or fragile, you won't want to be using metal tweezers. You can sort of push them into place with a brush. But these decals are actually quite good, so you can carefully maneuver them quite a bit. So I'm just trying to get that edged into the right place. It wasn't far off, but I'd rather get it just right. So that's just about where I need it to be, and then I'm just going to go from the middle just to push them round. Get them to line up together where I want them to be. There's a little bulge there, so I need to get rid of that. So let's push that, as I say, around until you get to the edge, the end, and then that will come off there. Yeah, that's also moved it down a bit. So I'm just going to manoeuvre that a little bit just to get that where I need it to be. There we go. with these, so you've got a little while before it sets, so you can move it around a little bit more. You can in fact use a little bit more of the micro set, just sort of painting over the top, and that softens it a little bit more and gives you more time to get it in the right place. So that's a little bit low there, so let's push that up, and that needs to line up there. There we go, that's about as good as that needs to be. Then you can, if need be, excuse me, use a Q-tip, cotton bud, and move it back where you don't want it to be again, just to soak up some of the extra moisture. But do make sure that it stays where you want it to be. And then you can leave that to set and you're away. Or not, because it's still not quite right. I'm going to spend hours. I should have done an easier one to describe, to show you. Obviously small decals are easy, they just go on. Round ones are one of the trickiest ones, but at least it's a flat surface it's going onto. It's not going around different shapes and sides. So that's that. Now the other one I'm going to do exactly the same, but hopefully quicker. And that's going just there as well. Once you finish with the backing paper, you can just dispose of that. There you go. Sometimes it works really easily, sometimes it doesn't. That one I'm just going to, again, give it a coat of micro set just to make sure it fits a little bit better. When they're dry on there, I'll be using the micro sol, which actually partially dissolves it. It gets rid of there's a clear, like carrier film around the edge that micro sol will sort of dissolve and leave just the coloured piece, and it beds it in and makes it conform to any imperfections in the plastic and anything else. So I'm quite happy with that. I'll leave that alone. I'll get the other engines done, and obviously the other decals on the rest of the ship as well, and then we'll be ready for some final staging weathering. Well, with the build and the painting and the decals finished, it's time for the fun stuff, the weathering. Now on this kit, being a Star Wars kit, it's going to be a used universe, as they call it. So it's going to need some damage and marks and scuffs, and yeah, generally knackering it up a bit. So first thing to do is to get rid of the nice looking decals that we've just put on. What I'm going to do is, using a pair of tweezers basically, just sort of scuff up the edges and mark and peel off a few bits here and there, using no particular order. I should probably glue those back on as well. Yeah, just randomly causing bits of damage, especially like leading edges where things would mark it and knock it. I'm not going very worn on this. The U-wing, in my opinion, the way it seems to be portrayed in Rogue One, it's been around for a while, but it's not a, you know, the X-wings always really look knackered and worn. The U-wing's not quite so bad, so they're definitely used and scuffed, but they're not ready for the scrap heap. So I'm going to be doing that pretty much on the blue. Things like the front of this is going to have some scratches and scuffing in it. Cut a little bit, so pretty much primarily in order of direction of travel, so things aren't going to scuff it sideways, unless it might get a blaster scoring and something like that, but pretty much it's difficult on the wings because they could be like that, so it might get some that way as well. So I'll work on all directions basically, just sort of mainly the edges, just scuffing them up and making them look not quite so new. So I'll basically get on with that, and then we'll see about doing some weathering painting. I'm going to be changing the colour of some of these panels. darkening some down, lightening some up, making some, again, paint chips and things on it, and generally covering it in muck. So I'll get most of this done and then come back when it's time to put some paint back on it. Right, the first thing I'm going to do with paint is use some Starship Filth. I like the oil brusher. You can use the normal tube of oils, but the oil brusher is just easy. It is this nasty grimy colour, which is ideal for, say, engines and engine bays, things like that. So all you really need to do on this is cover it, sort of slap it on, as Ted would say, and then basically you'll be removing a lot of it as well. But by putting it on and then removing it, you make sure it stays in the recesses and the grooves. Some of it I won't be removing either, actually. This top bit looks about right like that, I think. I'm just going for it in the metallic bits at the moment. Actually no, I will in fact get some on the fronts of this, sort of into the engine intake as well, to dirty all that up. But the body itself I'm not going to be getting really mucky like this. I might get a bit in some of the recesses, basically bits that need to look really dirty. So I'm just getting a little bit in there, and then I'm actually just going to use a bit of tissue to wipe a lot of it away and let a lot of it just sort of settle into the grooves, so it doesn't look, quite as pronounced as it initially did, but it's still there, so you can definitely see it's still there. Don't want to get it everywhere like I just have, because I forgot about doing the bits on there. So I'm just going to smear that in, cover it across. You can see most of it's actually coming off, but it does leave just that fragment still inside it, actually, there. And little blobs will fade down when I do some more sort of washes and detailing on it as well. But it just makes it look a little bit more used and worn, which is exactly what we're going for. I'll add a bit more here and there as well, a bit more to the front. But that gives you the idea of that. So I'll continue on with that as well. But while I'm here, we might as well add some more. I've got, what have I got? I've got some of these, the Vallejo Mecha colour. I like these. I've got some black wash, some fuel stains. I've got a couple of other weathering bits on that. I've got oil stains. They're all very similar sort of things. I've got a rust texture. I'm not going to be using the rust on this. I've got petrol spills as well. Basically just to give it a bit more grime and grot. So I'm going to get some of these on there now. Actually, I'm going to use a big brush and my trusty dry palette, which is the lid of my wet palette. So the black wash, I'm just going to put a little bit down there because I'm not going to be going silly with it. Most of that will get sucked up instantly into the brush, and then I'm going to get most of that off on a tissue, so there's only the faintest bits remaining on it, and that can just be not so much dry brushed but almost dry brushed on. I'm just covering the engines at the moment because that's obviously pretty much the dirtiest part of a spaceship, the engines and surrounding area. And remembering that I've got the oil Starship Filth in there as well, so now I've done the worst of that, I can blob that around and that will make it come out around the edges as well, sort of the intake, airtake bits, and just make it a bit grimy. So I'm going to do a little bit of that everywhere, but not, not loads, just enough. And then I'll add in some other, say, petrol spills, oil stains, across and around, just to show it's all a bit used. So I'll see you when I've finished off all that. And for the last bit, I've done off camera, I'd almost forgotten, I've changed the colour of a couple of panels. I've put a little bit of darker grey on a couple of bits here and there, and some lighter grey in a couple of places that I can't see, because they're quite a bit lighter. Where have I done? Oh, the little panel under here, a couple of bits down the edges here, just a couple of bits here and there, just to vary the tone a little bit. Now the last thing I'm going to do is use some of the off-white and just go over some of the edges a little bit. So I'm going to put some on the side of a palette and load up a brush. Now with this one, I'm just going to always use the edge of the brush and just do some light sort of edge highlighting, but not even quite as deep as that. Just a little bit here and there on some exposed corners. This is obviously over the top of any weathering that I've done, because there's still going to be patches that get worn and scratched even, you know, after it's been dirty. So again, it's just another layer of little bits of detail here and there, especially on sort of outside edges. Just little touches, nothing too major. In fact, that one's gone a little bit too much, so I'm just going to remove some of that, which again leaves a little bit of different texture, a different feel to it. I do need to dirty up the engines a little bit more, but that will be the end of the build. So I'm going to say apply a few more of this, a little bit more dirt going into the engines, but then that's going to be completed. So I'll show you the finished kit when I've got the last couple of bits done. And there we go, that's the completed build. All in all, another Bandai kit. What can you say? They're great, they're easy, mostly slapped together. Just a couple of bits needed some light gluing, but not very much at all. All in all, it's an easy kit, but it's not a bad kit. It's a very nice build. I'm happy with how it's come out. I've got a little bit of shake on that. For some reason the turntable's got a bit of vibration to it, making it wobble. But all in all, I'm happy with it. Let me turn the speed down. That might help. Don't want it to vibrate away. Yeah, it's been very good. I've enjoyed building it. Nothing really more to say. I hope you've enjoyed watching the build and building along with me. I'm glad to have finally made my way through to the U-Wing. It's taken 3 episodes to get to it, but yeah, as ever, thank you for watching. It means a lot to me that you comment and like the videos, but I hope you come back for more. I'm not sure what the next build I'm going to be doing is. I think I've got the E-Models one to do, a couple of planes, but I'll come back and do another Star Wars one after that, I think. Thank you for watching. Thanks for. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon for another build. I'll leave it till it gets round to the front, because you can't finish looking at the back. That's not on. But yeah, the wings obviously are posable and will go into their swept back position, like that. There we go. I do prefer the more front forward pose though. Seems to be vibrating even more on that. But yeah, I will be doing the diorama with these soon. Now I've got the tanks and the TIE Striker done as well. I'll be doing one of the sort of Scarif themed dioramas at some point. So stick around, stay tuned, and thanks for watching as ever. See, I finished on the back again. I've got to let it go around to the front. Right, that's better. Right, as ever, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.